It's August 3rd, another sleepless night. Sleep is such a foreign concept that the word no longer holds any meaning to me. I've dedicated every waking hour to my job, solving crimes and bringing closure to the restless. Although it's not always so cut and dry. Oftentimes cases go cold, and a psychopath escapes the law's grasp. But the road goes on. People move on. But I don't. The night is humid and carries a thick smog that chokes anything it touches. It's unbearable. The suffocating heat seems to seep into every crack, filling every space with no means to escape it. It makes focusing on work so much more difficult than normal. I'd rather retreat into the comfort of my bedroom. It's the only place with a somewhat functioning air conditioning system. I dread turning it on because of its ominous loud hum and the grinding of metal. That doesn't help you sleep at night, but it's the only means of escaping from the heat. My thoughts are incoherent and concentrating is almost impossible, with a small fan constantly sending my papers and notes into disarray. Whenever I manage to gather my thoughts, the short gust of hot wind squanders any hope of having a coherent thought. It makes poring over the case files so much more difficult. But still, I can't give up. Not with this one. In my latest case, the paper dubbed this maniac the Sandman. He comes in the dead of night and seals the fate of those that dare to be awake. That's the MO, the only thing that linked these strings of cases together. Every victim had one thing in common. They all suffered from chronic insomnia. There were a number of cases where night shift workers would turn up dead too. This person thinks they can get away with this. They probably think they're one step ahead of the authorities. They think they're safe, hiding amongst the masses. This is a big city, and there are a lot of people. But no one can hide from me. At least not for long. This person seems to select his targets based on whether their victims are asleep past a certain hour, and come daylight, the person is discovered completely pale and lifeless. No signs of physical restraint or chemicals. This person leaves no trace of evidence. The only thing discovered at the crime scenes apart from the victim themselves is a pile of sand encircling the victim. It's truly a strange case, but this city breeds a certain type of strange that I've grown accustomed to seeing. The working theory is that this person believes to be some sort of liberator, enacting divine punishment on the sleepless, possibly as a result of a god complex, and viewing those with the inability to sleep as lesser beings. But that's all that is. Rampant speculation. Nothing concrete or worthy of being prosecuted. It's nights like these that seem to drag on forever. Dawn seems to evade me, teasing me like torture. It's on these nights that it gets the loneliest. This can be a solitary and unforgiving career, but someone has to do this job, so that the rest of the world can continue on in ignorance. Something about this case makes these night shifts seem all the more alone and secluded. Having to spend every hour of my life away from people and instead poring over documents makes one miss the touch of another human being. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I catch a glimpse of red. Just a mere flash, but I instantly knew what it was, who it was. As if in answer to my prayers, an angel has been sent forth to me. You always know when she's around because of the scent of her perfume. Such a sweet smell that dances in the wind. An expensive calling card that announces her presence. Rosalina. The smell of her perfume is always immediately followed by the appearance of her tall and shapely figure. She is one of the most gorgeous women I've ever seen. Her hair flows over her perfectly sculpted face. Her Their beauty outshines even the brilliance of the stars. And her lips, those luscious cherry red lips, lips that produce the most soothing and silky velvet voice that you'll ever hear. One that can so easily seduce any man, and one which I feel fortunate enough to be able to even hear. Have her voice grace my ears feels like a blessing unto itself. She comes to me and wraps her arms around me to kiss me on the neck. I ache for her warmth, but deep down I know this is wrong. My work must be my priority. No matter how much my soul yearns to be with her, I simply can't. She looks at me with those big, gorgeous eyes, staring into the depths of my soul as if pleading with me to stay with her. With only her gaze, she illuminates the darkest part of me. The urge to abandon my work and run off with this girl without a care for what happens to the case. It's strong, but I can't give in. I just can't walk away. Why? I don't even understand myself. Maybe it's some sort of moral form of self-righteousness, or more likely I'm just too scared to confront and commit. I hold her tight for just a moment longer, wishing it could last an eternity. And then finally, I pull away. She understood what my answer was, but she'll return. Part of me always hopes that she'll always return. If there's something resembling love still alive in my soul, it would be reserved for her. It was the winter of '07 when I first met her. It was one of my earlier cases. The person was kidnapping people and keeping them as her personal dolls to do with. Rosalina's little brother was one of her victims. I comforted her and kept her safe all throughout that case. Ever since then, our lives have been intertwined, like vines desperately reaching for the warmth of the sun. It's funny. Back then, I was more driven and would spend countless nights awake in hopes of finding Rosa's little brother. She would spend most of those nights by my side. I watched her as she heads out the door and glances over her shoulder to look at me one last time. She utters something, but I can't hear what. And just like that, the brief moment of tranquility and hope is gone. I need something to help me keep going. I reach to take a sip of my mug and find that it's completely empty. Caffeine. I need more caffeine. I'm going to sit here and continue to pore over every single detail, searching for any clues. I'm going to need more coffee. I've been running on nothing but caffeine and sheer determination for the last couple of days. My body's screaming at me. I long for the moment when I can finally lay my head down and drift off, even though sleep was always filled with vivid nightmares and unsettling images. No doubt it's my mind trying to process the terrible things I see daily. I've finally gotten my coffee. Straight and black. Doesn't need anything more or anything less. This case continues to perplex me. How could it be that there were no signs of forced entry, no visible signs of a struggle, and no traces of a murder weapon, not even chemicals? The autopsy reports show that the victims each had a high dosage of melatonin, serotonin, and traces of oxytocin, enough to make victims drowsy and sleepy, but not as much to have the opposite effect. The carefully administered amounts seem to indicate someone with experience in medicine. Victims were said to experience extreme highs of elation and comfort prior to their death. A killer that makes you happy before they off you. This makes me wish that. No, better not to finish that thought. The lack of sleep at night is the common thing for all these cases. However, all the victims seem to be regular night shift workers, or people suffering from chronic sleep deprivation. None of the victims were people simply unfortunate enough to be awake. Which leads me to believe that the murders are premeditated and the victims are chosen carefully. I sit there pondering a little while longer. Then, as if a miracle spurred on from Rosalina's appearance, I spot an oddity. I notice she's dropped one of her hairpins. As I lean in to pick it up, something piques my interest. An older case file. This is one of the first 4 victims. As I flick through it, I notice the first 4 all worked for the same company, the very first of which was a person that loosely resembled the subsequent crimes, however had been treated as a separate case due to the fact that it occurred 12 months prior to the rest. However, for some reason I guess I decided to compile it with all of these. This case was peculiar in that the victim had bruises around the neck, and the integrity of the skin, wrists, and ankles were compromised, implying the use of binding. The first person discovered was a shift supervisor and shift manager at a hospital. It's possible that one of the employees grew tired of the late night shifts and lack of sleep. They decided to take things into their own hands. Given that the first crime seemed hastily done and has clearer signs of trace evidence, it's safe to assume that it was a more spontaneous decision, possibly spurred on from a recent sacking of an employee. I should cross-reference any nurses or employees that were let go in the last 3 months leading up to the first case. Look out the window and notice the first streaks of sunlight beginning to pierce through the cloudy, heavy veil of night. I step into my room, as if the first signs of the morning indicate that I should sleep. I feel satisfied with the amount of work I've gotten done. I'm so exhausted, my body just slumps onto the bed. I can't even be bothered changing. I lay there, listening to the sounds of the gentle patter of subsiding rain. The rain will only make the humidity worse once it's over, but its lulling nature is welcome. Then, I spot something strange. Something moving. I notice a figure from behind my closet. I want to run. I want to scream and stir my body into motion, but I can't. My eyelids weigh down and my muscles are too limp to react. I caught a glimpse of the figure before my eyes shut. It can't be. It's impossible. I don't understand. Come to think of it, she was a nurse too, and she was let go some time ago. But why? Why would she do this?